I want to thank everybody for coming out to our to our October 6th Board of Education workshop. We're going to get things started this evening with our Student of the Month presentation, starting with our Superintendent, Mr. Michael Brooks.
Welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to offer my well wishes for everybody in the South that is facing Matthew right now. I know many of us have family and friends that are affected. I just heard on the radio on my way in, somewhere in the neighborhood of 26 million people are under direct effect of a hurricane warning, which is the highest level, means it's coming. So certainly thoughts and prayers with families and those that already have lost their lives down in the Caribbean. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I know I spoke with my niece's boyfriend, soon-to-be husband, I imagine. He's already in a caravan of trucks headed south because he's a linesman for an electrical crew. So there's caravans already going south, and he's from Long Island. So they really have moved a lot, are starting to move a lot of equipment down south. So they're anticipating quite a bit of damage. So let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Let's start with our Students of the Month. And how about we start with elementary?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Thank you, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to our Student of the Month recognition, a very exciting time for all of us, particularly elementary school. This first Student of the Month that we're going to present is our September Student of the Month. And she's a very special girl, and she's very special to us in many ways, but she's a kindergarten student. So she's going to be leading us off, and she's going to be presented by her kindergarten teacher, Miss Christy Porter. And Miss Porter is going to bring her up now, and this is Mia Monteperto.
Hi, my name is Christy Porter, and I am Mia's kindergarten teacher. Since the first day Mia has entered kindergarten, she has gone above and beyond in the classroom. Even though we've only been in school for a little more than 20 days, she has managed to exemplify all of our school-wide rules that we refer to as PRIDE. It's an acronym for patience, respect, integrity, determination, and excellence, as well as a genuine love for learning that is contagious in our classroom. Every day, Mia enters the classroom with a beaming smile that brightens the room, and she is sure to greet her friends and teachers with a hug. She's always willing to share, waits her turn, and is very compassionate. When she sees another student struggling, she's always willing to listen and gladly lends a hand. Working hard and trying her best is something Mia is constantly striving for in every aspect in and outside of the classroom. As a responsible and trustworthy student, I can always count on Mia to run an errand, model behavior, and work independently. She is really taking pride in being a Marlboro Duke. This solid foundation will no doubt set Mia up for a lifetime of success. I am looking forward to seeing her continue to soar this year. Congratulations, and keep it up, Mia.
A very important aspect of elementary school and of all of our schools, obviously, are our related area classes that the children are exposed to, and we take great pride in the arts. Tonight we have our art teacher, Miss Christine Williams. Mrs. Williams has been married now since I last saw her, and she's here to present the art award to her 5th grade student, Evelyn Gilman.
think Evelyn and I are both a little nervous to be standing up here, but that's okay. I remember meeting Evelyn for the first time. She was much littler then, when we had a summer open house when they first combined the elementary schools. And I think she sticks out in my mind because she came in with these big eyes and she just had to take everything in. She walked around the classroom looking at every material that there was while her father told me about her love for drawing. And when she first came in for school, I remember being happily surprised to see that not only did she love drawing, but she was also very good at it. And this year I'm returning after a year and a half of childcare leave, so I haven't been with Evelyn for a while. And we've only had 3 classes together so far, but I'm happy to see that she not only still loves drawing, but she's really improved. Her skills have really become very fine. So we have yet to complete a project because we've only had 3 days, but already she's impressed me with the work that she's doing, and I know she's going to continue to impress me as she goes on, not only this year, but in the future, and she'll continue to work on her skills and keep working with her talent. So I want to present her as the Artist of the Month, not just as the Student of the Month. This way. Oh, wait, a picture. Sorry.
All right, how about we move up the scale to the middle school?
Good evening and welcome. Thank you. Mr. Brooks, what you don't realize back there is we're all trying to guess which one you're going to call up next. So Mr. Lawler lost out tonight. So it is my great pleasure to be here this evening and to welcome our English teacher, Mr. Hayden Carlin, who is going to present our Middle School Student of the Month, Miss Grace Orsino.
Good evening. The Red Team has chosen Grace Orsino as October's Student of the Month. Seeing as the Red Team is both 7th and 8th grade, I've had the pleasure of having Grace in class both years. The growth and achievement that she has demonstrated on a regular basis last year and this year are perfect examples of why she deserves Student of the Month. She's come so far from the beginning of 7th grade to now, and it's this growth and continuous striving for excellence that we want to see out of all of our students. Grace demonstrates exceptional behavior in all of her classes and is always willing to help students in need. In the beginning of 7th grade, she was shy, hesitant, and afraid to take chances. Now, she's the perfect example of a student who attempts to take their learning to the next level. Grace thinks outside the box, asks challenging questions, and pushes the limits of her ability to analyze and think creatively in her problem solving. She's the first person to put her hand up if a challenging question is asked, and it's this display of ever-growing confidence that allows us to see genuine learning occur. She's a great role model for her peers in the classroom, on the stage at drama, and when performing musically. Her consistently positive attitude and voracious work ethic are just 2 more reasons why Grace is a pleasure to have in class and an obvious choice for Student of the Month. We're all confident that she'll continue to work hard and continue to succeed in whatever she chooses. Congratulations, Grace.
Let's see, high school.
I'd like to call up our student of the month, Alina Rodriguez. Alina was nominated by her AP World History teacher, Mrs. Estevez. Alina is in the 2-year program for AP World History, and so she completed the first year last year and is in the 2nd year of that program. So Mrs. Estevez knows her for the better part of 13 months at this point. Mrs. Estevez was not able to be here tonight, but she shared the following. Alina is a hard worker and natural leader. She brings valuable insight into the social studies classroom. Alina is the organizer for student study and extra help review sessions in the AP World History class. She pulls her classmates together, selects topics, and creates an agenda for study and discussion. Alina is a critical thinker and often contributes to classroom discussions. She's also involved in her FCCLA group and yearbook. Your favorite subject is AP Chemistry, and you have a long-term interest in forensic science, which is kind of cool. Marlboro High School is proud to acknowledge our student of the month, Alina Rodriguez.
Just in case you missed some of what we just heard about Mia and Evelyn and Grace and Alina, I mean, terms like natural leader, love for drawing, takes everything in, role model, gracious, pride in being a Duke, lends a hand, creates agendas for study groups. These are great attributes, great kids. Thank you so much for being who you are. Families, thank you so much for allowing us to have your kids each day. So, congratulations.
We are going to take a quick 3-minute break to allow anybody that needs to get their children home and into bed a moment to make their way out. We will continue at 7:45.
Next? Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Ready to go. Let everybody leave. It'd be great.
It's on film. So a few days it will be up on the website.
Well, because he took off the night we were in and out of here in like 15 minutes. The night we were out of here in 30 minutes. It all depends on how long this food presentation. Well, it depends how many questions she has about the food service presentation.
All right, everybody, thank you for waiting while we let everybody leave. We're going to get going again. We have our presentations this evening, and I'll allow our superintendent to introduce our next speaker.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Bell, early in the summer when we approved a change in some lunch prices, a couple of board members asked if we could spend some time talking about the food service program. So I asked Patrick Witherow and Fred Callow to spend some time putting together an overview of the whole program, pun intended, soup to nuts, I guess. So, Mr. Callow, I leave it to you.
Awesome. Good evening, Board of Education. Mr. Brooks, thanks for finding the time for me this evening. I'd like to thank my staff members for showing up tonight and coming out. I got my favorite building principals here, and it's always nice to see Mr. Walters in the back of the room. What a surprise, he's at a board meeting. So let's move on without further ado. I'm going to go over my staff with you first, what I have in each building. Currently, right now, we have one full-time employee besides me. That's a district cook at City Jensen. She's been doing a great job for us so far this school year since her appointment last January. We have an assistant cook at the high school. Part-time employees, they're only 3 hours a day. The cashier and the servers equals 4. We also have 2 permanent subs working at the high school every day. Marlboro Middle School, we have an assistant cook and 4 part-time employees, cashier and 3 servers. And the elementary school, we have 2 assistant cooks, one that does the morning shift, breakfast, and starts lunch, I should say, and goes on to a second assistant cook, Anne-Marie, who's sitting in the audience right now. We also have 5 total part-time employees that work 3 hours a day down there. Stop me at any time and if you have any questions as we go through each slide. Correct. Yes, we have 2 people that work every day as a sub because we don't have actually a position for them. And you want more detail for that, don't you? Okay, so this is what happened. At Marlboro Elementary School, you guys just appointed Karen West, who was my permanent sub at MES for many, many years down there. But when we had a vacancy, I gave her a permanent position. So that actually, everybody kind of shifted down. So that's why that person is now at the high school. We had a permanent sub in there because we did the consolidation. There's so many serving stations, and we didn't have everybody for each serving station. So the previous person to Patrick told me just to use a sub instead. And that's why we had 1 person there.
So I guess my question is, instead of having a permanent sub, wouldn't it be better to have 2 permanent positions?
Oh, yes.
We're gonna talk about that as we get into budget season for next year, because that's one of the issues that Fred's been discussing. And what happened, I think, is again when the consolidations and reductions took place back in going into the 13-14 school year, the reductions were made too deep in his department, and so he filled that void by using subs in those positions because the actual positions are not created for them.
But see, to me that doesn't make sense, because if you cut it and then you're bringing somebody in, it defeats the purpose of cutting the position.
Right. Well, as we said in a couple instances, we saw when those reductions were made that they were cut a little too deep, as you saw even in the business office itself when we brought Debbie Pagano back as a part-time deputy treasurer, because when the reductions were made, it wasn't fully understood what the impact was going to be on the programs and the workloads of the people that remained. So this is one of those instances where he just needs those people in those positions.
This is where I'm getting a little confused. So if we're already paying them to be there every day, why don't we just make it a permanent position? We're already taking the money out of the
We
budget.
can look at this, but this also gives him some flexibility. And we'll talk a little bit more over the next couple of weeks, but this gives him flexibility to move them where there's gaps. There's substitutes that can be plugged into any position when people aren't available, when they're called out.
And it is an issue we intend to address as we get into the next budget season.
But couldn't you do that with a permanent position that floats?
Like I said, we're going to spend some time looking at that, but right now, this is the structure, so.
Okay.
Any other questions on this? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Brooks asked us to come up with some goals this year. What I did was, instead of coming up with goals for myself for the department, when we had our initial meeting at the beginning of the year, I gave everyone in the department index cards. I said, it shouldn't be just my goals, it should be our department goals. So I went through the index cards and we developed 3 goals for this year, and I'm going to tell you how we're trying to get to those goals as well. So one was increased participation in all buildings for lunch and for breakfast. We're doing this through new menu options, improved presentation of food, and having our menus up on the website. Goal number 2 is improve customer service for our children and parents of the district through communication, negative balance letters, which get mailed out through the office, mailings for approval of lunch applications. We also do a download from the state 3 times a year with a list of everybody that's on free or reduced, so we can get through those applications. We don't need all those applications actually, and we can actually get kids on the free reduced lunch even faster that way. So we let them know that they've been approved for free reduced lunch at a quicker pace. And we also promote My School Bucks, and I brought a flyer too. Well, my flyer's gone.
Somebody wanted to sign up.
Yeah, they want it. So anyhow, I have this nice little flyer for My School Bucks, and everybody that has a negative balance, we put this My School Bucks in there to get them to go on and sign up for the debit or credit card. Hopefully they will pay their bill a lot faster when they do that. So any questions on that? And the last one is to promote teamwork training through a productive and positive work environment. We're going to do, Robin's office set it up for us already. In November, we're doing CPR and first aid, because I asked my staff, I go, what kind of training would you like this year? Let me know what you want for a change. And they said they'd like to have CPR and first aid training in case somebody actually got hurt on the job site, because we do have equipment and things could happen as you go along. And they're their own first responders, so to speak, for the first 2 or 3 minutes to a screw nurse or something happens to them. So they ask for that first. Plus, we'll do our normal board of health training when we get to later in the school year. So questions on that? Excellent. Free and reduced lunch percentage. This average has gone up immensely over the years. This is my 20th year for the district, for those that don't know. Here's your building by building percentage. Your district-wide average is over 35%, pushing 36% probably by the end of this month. And just to let you know, the average last year, at the end of the school year, was about 34% and change. This keeps going up immensely. You're talking about a third of your population in Marlboro being on free school lunch. So,
Do we know offhand how that compares to other neighboring school districts? Patrick?
We don't know offhand, but we can get that information for you.
We're curious to see where we fall.
probably towards the lower end of it. Kingston, Ellenville are usually, Saugerties are a little bit higher than us. Lunch prices. Here's our lunch prices for this school year. This was brought on by, last year we had a state review and they asked us to look over our lunch prices. So we went in and there's a lunch equities tool that's done by the state. You put all these different parameters in it. Patrick can explain it better than I can, but it took us like 15, 20 minutes to kind of figure it out. We had to go back and get other research to actually come up with the lunch prices. It's not just sitting there going, should we raise lunch prices? Yeah, no, not this year, next year. It's actually, you have to put it in. It's a formula done by the state, and that's how you actually come up with the lunch prices. And then, and our elementary school level was borderline low, so we brought them all up this year, so we're in compliance. Any questions on that? And
I have a quick
we're one of the
question.
lowest prices in the county,
Am I on?
and I know that.
I have a quick question for you, Fred. Can you just scoot back 2 slides? One more. Yeah, sorry. So did you say with MES that was an increase from last year?
Free reduce
Yes.
percentage? As a district overall, you're up. That's
Overall.
probably the highest I've ever seen MES right now.
So do you think that
And,
it's
and then in
new
all
and
fairness, they used to be separated. So you have a lot more Middle Hope kids that used to be down there that was higher at the time. Now they're thrown in with MES. So that's why it's probably skewing that number just a little bit over time.
I was just wondering if you saw an increase with new enrollment, with kindergarten or new enrollment, or that of a switch, you know, per se, in the scheme of.
All I can tell you is the percentage keeps going up. anybody that comes in that's kindergarten and that's registered for next year, we check if they already have a sibling in the district that's a free reduced for previous year. We automatically make them free until the new application or the download comes back from the state. So we always take care of our kindergartners when they register as well. Over the summertime, we get the names.
Susan, also, I believe that it's because we have the applications online and we're actually making a concerted effort through our social workers and nurses to reach out to the population and see where we can help.
There's a Spanish one on there as well.
Thank you.
Reimbursement summary. This basically tells you how much the state's reimbursing us for each school meal during the day. Obviously, if you're on a free lunch, the state kicks in almost 6 cents there, as you can see, the 0.0599. So a free lunch, you're basically bringing back $3.28, rounding up. A reduced child that pays the 25 cents is you're bringing up $3 and almost 27 cents. And for your paid lunches, the state and federal actually still kick in on that. So you, again, you have 326, almost 327 for your reimbursement rates for those. At the elementary school level, since the price is $265 down there, you're only bringing in $307 at the elementary school level. Any questions? Nice. Food cost. The food cost is driven on what we have to provide for them, and I'll get to another slide in a moment on this. But basically, this is how much it actually cost us. I picked a couple items of how much it costs to serve that meal for the day. So any of your chicken items, chicken nuggets, chicken patties, chicken cutlet sandwiches, whatever we're doing on the menu, cost about 60 cents each. Lasagna, the same. Meatballs, about 40 cents. Mozzarella sticks, 70 cents. Brunch for lunch items on the menu, just over 50 cents. And pizza on Fridays is about 83 cents. That doesn't include everything else on the tray. The milk, the juice, the canned fruit, the fresh fruit that we're serving at the time that's in season, that can cost you anywhere from 85 cents to another $1. All these numbers are approximate, but that drives the food cost up. You want to try to be around that 35–40% of your food cost because the rest of it is going to be getting eaten up in labor. It doesn't include labor. It doesn't include setting up, serving, cleaning up, dishwashing, any paper products you might be using. The county has banned all styrofoam, which is great, but paper products cost about 2.5 times as much as the stuff we were using previously. So that's also hurt our food costs as well. So we have to take that into consideration, but you have to follow the county rules. So, questions?
Have we ever looked into Have we ever looked into the possibility of buying reusable utensils and reusable serving items?
Well, we use reusable trays every
Right,
day.
but like
we don't
dishes,
use throw-out trays. So a lot of
plates.
districts do that. No, we haven't. We had a lot of that stuff in stock when I first started, and we've never looked into that. I would be afraid of how many knives and forks, and I don't know if you want the kids to be having
I'm not talking about
real-
letting them walk away with knives and forks so much as I'm wondering if we had like plastic plates that could be run through a dishwasher, if that would be a cost savings that would be worth looking at, or is it just as cheap to buy the
You
paper?
probably could use a heavy-duty plastic plate if you wanted to do something like that. Maybe more at the high school level, the elementary school level, we put the stuff right on their compartment tray so there's no plate down there, so to speak. But at the middle school and high school level, you could possibly do that if you wanted to. It's more, of course, it's more stuff to run through the machine, which adds to your labor costs at the end of the day. But if you want to be environmentally friendly and that's your goal, then that's obviously the way to go.
I'm also wondering if there's
And less in the
if there's
dumpster.
a savings by using reusable serving things versus paper products and the garbage, trash that as a result throw anything away.
That's something we could look into, definitely. Nutritional standards, and this is what drives our menu. And if you ever wonder why my menu is always very similar week to week, this is basically why. And at breakfast time, you have to offer these ingredients on the left-hand side here. Every day you have to order for at least a fresh fruit or a cup of fruit, grains a cup, milk a cup, That's your calories or your parameter you have to get into every day. Your sodium level, which is, state keeps dropping the levels every year. You have to try to stay under that level for sodium intake. For lunch, and this is what drives your lunch prices and cost up, each day we have to offer at least a half a cup of fruit. But the child can take more than a cup of fruit. So they can take up to a cup, so they can take the peaches and an apple if you want every day. Vegetable, they have to take a half a cup of fruit, but whatever you're offering, if you're serving carrots on a Monday, they can ask for more. They can ask for a second portion, and that actually comes with their meal. Dark greens, if you're ever wondering why I have broccoli on the menu every Friday, this has to be offered at least once a week. So that broccoli on Fridays takes care of your dark greens for the week. So does if you offer like romaine lettuce or something like that. I know it's crazy, but there's a rhyme and reason to it. Red and orange, you have to offer red and orange on the menu every week as well. So that's why I put carrots on Monday, because it kind of takes care of that. If you have tomato sauce with your mozzarella sticks, that's your red for the week, so that takes care of that as well. So beans, legumes, everybody loves chickpeas, not at this level, but we have to offer at least a half a cup of legumes, so that's why I try to stick some baked beans on the menu, usually with the hot dog or the hamburger or whatever we're serving that week. So that has to be offered every week. Then you have the tricky calories at each level, and obviously you have to offer less at the elementary school level, littler kids. That's the main reason why we actually we charge less money down that level, because we're giving them less food. So that's why the price is a little bit cheaper down that level. And then the other calories at the higher level at the other grades. And of course you have to stay under the sodium, so you have to avoid the canned items as much as possible, try to offer fresh, and if you're offering vegetables, they have to be frozen because they have 0 grams of sodium in frozen vegetables. Yep, welcome to my life every day.
So there's a sodium criteria, but is there a sugar maximum criteria?
Only on a la carte items. There's a parameter for a la carte items that we can sell and can't sell. That's why.
So the state.
That's why certain things at the store you can buy, but you can't. I can't sell it at the.
So the state enforces a sodium, but not sugar.
Right. So when I had my
That's
state
amazing
review
to me.
last year, they went over all my nutritionals. We had to give them nutritionals for 2 weeks on all the items, and they went over it and got back to us, and we were actually in very good shape, district-wide.
Fred, let me ask a question. If we were to, would we be allowed to offer something like a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich in the morning?
We used to do that at the high school. We used to sell bacon, egg, and cheese all the time on the big bagels, but unfortunately, the bacon is a no-no anymore, and because the sodium in the bacon and the calories, it just put it over. And it has to be a whole grain item, and it can't be more than 2 ounces.
So
your big bagel went like this.
Your offerings have to fit that parameter.
Yes.
In order to qualify.
Yes. So you can stop at Frank's, but you can't come to the
In
high
order to
school.
qualify for reimbursement, I guess the question is if you decided to not take reimbursement on certain items, could you sell them?
You could opt out of the school lunch program, and you can just do that at different levels. You can just say, the high school, we don't want to do this at the high school level. There is that option to do that. However, going back to my screen of free or reduced, district-wide, you're looking at 33% of the kids at the high school level. Now, you're going to have to feed them basically for free, because now you don't get reimbursed on that. So
I guess the question is if you wanted to launch like a cafe program or something that's separate from this program, is that something you can do?
It's all under one jurisdiction. So if you want to do like special things out of the snack shack, I thought I could do that, but I was told no by the
it's
state.
all or nothing.
So it's all or nothing, yes. So that's why some of the richer school districts and maybe Westchester can do that, because they only have 2% free
Got a
reduced,
Subway in
and
the
then
building.
they eat that cost and then make money somewhere else. So
Fred, I have a question. Couldn't you do like the turkey bacon for the kids?
Canadian bacon.
No, I'm talking about like turkey, because turkey bacon has less sodium.
Right.
It does have less sodium in it and stuff.
We
And
do.
and
We've
does that
we've actually
remain?
been doing egg patties, as Cindy will tell you. We do an egg patty at the high school with a slice of cheese on a whole grain bagel in the morning at the high school level.
And my other question is that with all the farms that we have in this area, couldn't we get some fresh produce from them and vegetables and,
We do.
especially before, the freeze comes, like string beans, tomatoes, right from our own
I've,
Hudson
my
Valley?
staff will tell me, I've used the grape tomatoes this year from local farmers. I've used local tomatoes from local farmers. We get every apple, pear comes from our taxpayer farmers in this area. And I've been bringing in grapes from, somebody help me out with the name, Nostrano Vineyards in Milton, all the way in Milton, New York.
Well, this is a lot of the farms grow fresh broccoli, which is excellent. Fresh string beans in
If
this
they
area,
reach out to me and tell me
kale.
they have availability, I'm always for it.
Well, like I
We
says,
we
they-
add the vendor on and we can go for it as long as they can produce the item every week and bring it to me and supply it.
Well, just until, like I says, I know most of the farms go until the end of October, because once the first frost hits,
yeah.
it kills their crops. But that's the same, if we can do something like that within our local area, even if it's 3 or 4 farms, it supports our community and it supports our children.
Right.
And it's good health.
Absolutely.
So, I think maybe if we can look into that, even for next year in the spring,
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Backpack program. We kicked off our backpack program this morning. I had 3 young ladies come in and we helped fill the backpacks. We currently have 32 students enrolled. Bags go home on Friday afternoons. Bags contain various shelf-stable items, canned goods, crackers, peanut butter crackers, snack items, and there's always the milk card they can redeem at one of the steward shops in town as well, which is nice to go with the cereal that's in the bag too. So items get mixed up every week, different items. Robin and I work together closely on that. She organizes that and takes care of all the paperwork. I check in all the food when it comes in and make sure they're following the menu.
Are we still getting a grant on that, or are we done with the grant, or are we supporting it? Huh? We were granted an extra. Good. Thank you.
And next course, my last slide of the evening, the district cook and assistant cook, raise your hand ladies, went to state training that was free, offered by the state, 4 days, 3 nights up in the Utica area. Did some nice training up there this year. Culinary stuff on hands, prepping stuff from scratch. Good training.
Good.
Everybody enjoyed themselves. All right, so that was nice. We have panini presses at the high school now. We're doing panini sandwiches up there every day, and new items on the menu: lasagna, chicken cutlets, sloppy joes, and beefsteak sandwiches have also been offered in the month of September or so, and we're working on menus for November as we speak. So that's it in a nutshell. If you ever have any questions, I'm only a phone call away. 236-8104 after 6 a.m., please. So.
Any questions for Fred? I will say I've had a number of people approach me complimenting the additional menu items, so great job on adding that stuff.
Thank you.
You were called out by name.
Thank you very much.
We're going to move on to our public comment on this evening's agenda items. If anybody has any comments on this evening's agenda items, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and town, and address the Board of Education. Anybody with questions, comments about the agenda? With that, we'll move on to item number 6, our superintendent's report with Mr. Michael Brooks, our superintendent of schools.
Very quick. Thank you, Mr. Cowell. Appreciate the information, and certainly we look forward to a wonderful future. And thank you very much for coming tonight. It's nice to see where we're going. Put out a notice this afternoon advertising a recess committee. This Board of Education asked us to take a look at our unstructured recess time and lunch time, and we put that notice out today. So if you are so inclined to participate, please do so. It's in about 2 weeks, and was it the 19th? I couldn't remember the date. Thank you. 2 weeks from yesterday. 19th is the Wednesday at the elementary school. So please join us if you'd like to give us some feedback on unstructured recess and lunchtime. Secondly, the picture that's up on the overhead there now is the newly installed door, secondary door at the middle school. So we are very close to having all 3 levels, as per our safety committee discussions and our budgetary process, have a double buzzing locking system so that all 3 will match. It's an additional safety feature as we as we looked at our entrance and exit procedures last year with our local law enforcement authorities and our own safety staff, we felt strongly that our double buzzing locking system that was working at the high school should also be a part of our elementary and our middle school. In order to do it at the middle school, we needed a new set of secondary doors. There was a secondary set of doors, but they were solid steel. They couldn't see through them. So we needed glass on them. So those are the new doors. And within a very short time period, the actual locking buzzing mechanism is going to be installed, so there'll be a secondary buzz at each building. An exterior buzz, go into a corridor, and then a secondary buzz on the secondary set of doors. So we're making progress there, and I appreciate the technology staff and also our operations staff for working together to make that happen. And I know that the folks down at the middle school are feeling much more safe having that double buzzing system there. So.
The doors are in the entrance through the parking lot, correct?
Yes, exactly
Where
where
the
the old
buses-
doors were. It's just now they're glass instead of solid
So
steel.
when you go in, you're going to go in where the elevator is,
Yep.
and you're stopped.
Yep,
Very good.
double buzzing, just like elementary now and high school.
So do we have someone still sitting there, or
Yeah.
does someone from the office?
No, we have a greeter. Each school, in this budget also, we have a greeter all day long at each of the 3 schools. There's 2 different people because they're both part-time positions, but it's still staffed consistently now, all 3 schools.
Can you explain the safety philosophy behind the double buzz?
Yes. So the exterior buzz is based upon a camera. There's a camera out there, and there's an initial screen of the person that is on the outside. They get buzzed into the vestibule that's in there, and that gives pause to be able to allow them into the second set of doors. That just gives another look from the greeter's perspective to see, is this definitely someone that needs to come in right away? Buzz them in and they come in for a purpose. So it's really just a pause period to allow for that secondary. I mean, there's no perfect solution, but it's a secondary pause for when somebody comes in. Now, there is a optimal design set at the high school because of where the greeter sits in the vestibule. That design is not really allowed here. It's not called for here because of the way that it's an odd front entrance. I guess the front entrance to the building used to be on the hillside when it was first built.
Yeah, originally, yeah.
Right. But it really doesn't call for it.
Undergone several renovations.
Right. But that's where we are. When it was originally built, I don't think so. Okay. And other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
All right. We're going to move on to item number 7, our personnel recommendation for this evening. Just a point of order that the board is working off of a revised personnel action report, which is available to anybody in the audience, which basically adds 1 person under certificated, which would be Stephen Edelman, who is being appointed this evening as the English as a second language teacher. The probationary period would be November 7th, 2016 through November 7th, 2020 at MA Step 1, 56,413 prorated. So, moving back to personnel recommendations, resolve the Board of Education upon the recommendation the superintendent of schools approves the following personnel recommendations as presented. Motion for approval of this evening's personnel recommendations. Frank, second. Jeff, any discussion?
Can you just explain to the community what that is? The English as a second language and
Sure. We're appointing an English as a second language teacher for our ELL, English Language Learner students. It's a required program that provides English language learners with supports there's a formula to it as they test into the program to determine how many minutes of assistance they need throughout any given day and week. And our population in that area is blossoming. So we asked the board, and you approved the position in a previous meeting, and we went through a search, and we found the right person for this job in Mr. Edelman.
I just wanted to clear it up this way, everybody, because it is state mandated now.
It's actually a federal, yeah, but it comes down through the state, but yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this evening's personnel recommendations? Jeff?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne? Yes. Myself, yes.
If I could, I'd like to introduce Mr. Stephen Edelman. He comes to us from New City. He's an English as a second language, English as a new language certification. It's actually a new title for the new language because sometimes it's not a second language. Sometimes it's a third or a fourth language for some children. So they changed the title of it. He graduated from SUNY Albany with a BA in Communications and Business and went on to get his master's in English as speakers of other language from Mercy College. Welcome to Marlborough. He also told me today that he was going to bring his fiancée with him. So he is about to get married. So congratulations.
Welcome aboard. Moving on to item number 8, resolve the Board of Education upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools authorizes the following transfers for the 2016-17 school year. Motion for approval of budget transfers. James, second. Frank, any discussion? Jeff? Yes. James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne? Yes. Myself, yes. Going to move on to this evening's old business, which is the Board of Education goals, a conversation that we've started the last several meetings and plan to conclude this evening. Everybody has the goals in front of them. I assume everybody's had a chance to reread them, re-review them, as well as the philosophy statement.
Yeah, I included the philosophy statement there that's already an adopted set from the 1000 section, just because I felt that it kind of encapsulated some of the elements that Susan and some others were bringing up last time. That it's a little more aspirational, but it kind of encapsulates some of those elements. But I also tried to incorporate some of that language in the goal set as I drafted it out for you to consider.
Is there any further discussion on the proposed goals for the 2016-17 school year? Anybody? Can I get a motion to adopt the proposed goals for the 2016-17 school year? James, second. Jeff. Any further discussion? Jeff? Yes. James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne? Yes. Myself, yes. Our goals for 2016-17 are approved. Is there any other old business? Any other old business? Is there any new business? Any other items? This time we'd like to recognize district residents and others. Again, please, if you have anything to say, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and town, address of Board of Education. Anybody have any questions, comments? We do not have an executive session scheduled, so with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? It's Joanne, second. Frank, discussion? No? All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.